My BIL planned to cheat on my sister and did it 2 times, then apologized to my sister, assuring her that it happened by accident. During my sister's birthday celebration, a group comprising myself, some friends, a few of her coworkers, along with my sister and brother-in-law, gathered at a restaurant and bar. It proved to be an enjoyable evening, with drinks flowing freely, especially for my sister and her closest friend. As the venue prepared to close for the night, my brother-in-law, my sister, and her friend decided to continue the night at their place. Feeling a bit tipsy and worn out, both my sister and her friend had indulged a little too much and were now sound asleep. Carrying them into the house was a task, but we managed to tuck them into bed. My brother-in-law graciously offered to take the couch, leaving me the spare bedroom. Feeling rather fatigued, I shuffled my way to the shower, planning to turn in for the night. However, when I encountered my brother-in-law, he was preparing to head out. Curious about his sudden departure, I inquired, only to learn that one of my sister's co-workers remained stranded at the bar without a ride. He had received her call seeking help and volunteered to assist. Despite my sleepy state, I bid him farewell and retreated to bed. Sometime later, I awoke, finding nearly 2 hours had passed. Concerned, I went to check on my sister and her friend, realizing my brother-in-law hadn't returned. Worried about the delay, I reached for my sister's phone intending to call him, only to discover it was dead. Recollecting that her phone had lost charge much earlier in the evening, before she began drinking heavily, I stepped in, using my phone to capture photos on her behalf. I sensed immediately that something was amiss. Patiently, I awaited his return home, which happened an hour later. To his surprise, he discovered me waiting in the living room. Assuming I had been asleep the entire time, he appeared startled when I questioned his whereabouts. His nerves betrayed him, confirming my suspicions. He had initially claimed to drop someone off, but then seemed to backtrack, mentioning a closed bar at 6 a.m. and eventually a store. I remained silent, merely observing him. Knowing him well, I understood he wasn't inherently deceitful. He was usually quite transparent. His attempts at dishonesty were faltering, evident in his visible breakdown before me. When I questioned how the person he mentioned had texted my sister despite her phone dying earlier at the bar, he crumbled, muttering an acknowledgement of his mistake. He retreated to his truck, spending the entire morning there, refusing to enter the house. Sleep eluded me as I pondered the weight of their 11-year relationship and the impact on my 2 nieces. Though I suspected what had transpired, disbelief lingered, hoping it wasn't as dire as it seemed. By around 11 a.m., when my sister awoke, she found me still awake in the living room. Inquiring about my brother-in-law, I disclosed that he had spent the night in his truck but withheld further details, prompting her to check on him. Her return carried a sense of alarm as she relayed his incessant crying without explanation. Realizing the truth needed to come out, I took it upon myself to inform her. After the initial shock, she requested that I take her friend home, granting them some privacy to talk. During their conversation, he attempted to disclose everything that had occurred, or so he claimed. According to him, she had called him for a ride, an assertion my sister later debunked after conducting her own inquiry. Unnoticed by any of us, they had been flirting at the bar, exchanging numbers, and engaging in explicit messages, even while we were en route home. My sister retrieved photos sent by her co-worker from her apartment, which prompted his visit to her. His initial admission was limited, stating they had kissed a few times and he had only touched her, another fabrication, as it later emerged they had engaged in intercourse twice and made arrangements to meet again. He spent the entire morning attempting damage control, planning and texting the coworker, trying to contain the fallout. What prevented my sister from completely cutting ties was a text she recovered, sent after their encounter, where he realized his mistake and regretted it. He canceled their future plans, claiming it was a mistake and that he had to confess to my sister. Supposedly, they had only kissed, a detail he shared just 20 minutes before the confrontation, prior to arriving home. My personal belief is that once someone crosses that line, the likelihood of repetition increases. Despite only consuming 2 beers and not being intoxicated, I can't dismiss this as a mere mistake, given the planned and sustained nature of their interactions throughout the night. He deliberately chose to leave, presuming we were all asleep, likely hoping it would never surface. My sister repeatedly seeks my advice on what to do, torn between salvaging the relationship and ending it. A part of me leans towards suggesting reconciliation if possible, But when I look at him, I'm inclined to advise her to leave his remorseful self. It's a difficult situation, and we're unsure which guidance would serve her better. Let's get 1,000 subscribers on this channel. Love you.